feels like the two missing pieces or two pieces that were not previously in communication with each other kind of merged into a single entity. And the let's say emerging factor is this third entity, which I've also described within the architecture of the 7-day challenge as well. And this emerging third property is, it's aligned with the alchemical unity, the trinity, those concepts mathematically just aligned and clicked for me, because of my long tradition of logical upbringing and priming in that field. So it's just beautiful to see the heart to communicate with the logical, the brain, the mind, or the both of the apparently opposing paradoxical essences of life to just be in alignment. That's what it's all about, right? So
that's the sweet spot. That's the place where we get and we don't want to leave from, because everything makes sense, right? And we become that unfolding, and that's so beautiful. I'm so happy that you've essentially revalidated the whole concept of what you're bringing forth within yourself, right? And it's like landed inside of you. It's like, well, fuck, like the world, I said the world needs this. There's a select few that are able to receive this and distill this and have the same results. And that's really, really powerful. And I feel this collective rising that's taking place and the clarity that's coming forth, and rightfully so, because fuck, like, locally speaking, shit's getting hectic out there, and this is almost the antidote. It's like bringing all of those opposites into unity with itself.
It is
really timely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, the most profound shift for me at the moment is, to just vortex and weave that energy into creation rather than, opposition to something which I don't find, aligned or serving my highest interests and my highest pursuit of bliss and enjoyment. And, the process itself is structured in such a way that, once you merge all of those 4 major archetypes and go through this 4-stage alchemical journey, you are literally given, the blueprints of how to find center within yourself. So it's such a powerful transmission, and it's really increased also as you've kind of hinted towards the trusting the process and unfoldment within perfect time. The courage and confidence that comes with it by just walking the talk.
yes. So that's everything, right? It's like the lived experience, and then like you operate from beyond the paradigm, and you just become all of it at once. And fuck, that's like the untold truth that has no words, that can only be like lived and experienced. And fortunately, it can also guide people on that journey, rightfully so. So in the past week, so what's some of the feedback that you've received that's really standing out from the participants?
Yeah, I've actually, the most feedback that I got was from myself and my own experience going through this. And secondarily, I mean, all of the people that were participating on the journey and really, committing to it, have had profound shifts themselves. And even if they were only interacting in the energetic container, not so much in the digestion of the transmissions and embodying the practices, have also noticed, an energetic, let's say, osmosis of this whole setup, of this whole architecture. So that was just beautiful to observe. But the main learning point was that this 7-day challenge is really, really a challenge, right? So if an individual really wants to go through this experience in such a short burst, like an espresso, a fucking soul espresso.
Oh, dude, no more soul espressos for me. That was what I had on Monday. Fucked me up for like 3 days.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, me and Chris had a coffee on Monday. It was
literally,
literally, and it just fucked me. Like it probably contributed towards the spiraling. But anyway, I digress. But soul espresso, maybe that's a bit more
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, an espresso and this analogy that you just shared, I mean, it's something that, you know, you need to be able to absorb.
Exactly.
And yeah, so that's one of the learning points from this. And I think I was, you know, kind of putting out a preamble and emphasizing that throughout the journey with all of the individuals that were really into the process, that this is, you know, pace yourself. This is really a lot to digest. This is really a lot to go through in such a short period of time. But it is essentially what we've architected and what we envisioned for this experience to be a distillation of the, you know, the larger process, which if undergone in a longer period of time can really transmute your whole life experience in such a profound way that, you know, it's beyond description. I'm really thinking now how to, you know, encapsulate this on the landing pages, because I feel that this should be a part of it, right?
So what could that could actually look like is putting like a warning label on the website. You know what I mean? Like getting like a, ooh, like, you know, just like a handle with care. Like this is some high level, you know, chemistry happening here, and yeah, this process is not to be, you know, underestimated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now on second thought, if you will agree to it, of course, I believe that potentially we could, we could publish a part of this conversation that we are recording on Zoom as a part of the transmission, which I could then use to share, you know, how and what to expect within the container itself.
Sure, of course, yeah. Like I love the reconstitution of all parts, right, that are part of the process, and I love that. And you know, speaking to informing individuals who will be embarking on this journey that this is not for the faint-hearted. Like how could they prepare? How could they be more prepared next time for the experience to really get the most out of it?
Yeah, beautiful. That's a very powerful question. I think the best preparation for that would be to really very clearly define what it is that you desire in life, right? And not what you think you want, but what you feel you want.
Right.
And perhaps just journaling around that, and observing potentially what are all the personas, you know, according to Jungian applied psychology. One of the archetypes is the persona, meaning that the masks and the social conventions or agreements and roles that we play in life can oftentimes be examined as roles themselves, and, you know, not to be identified with. So perhaps that's a very, very good start for anyone who wants to make, you know, just essentially kind of a brief itinerary of where they are now and what are those roles that they are playing in life. And that itinerary can really inform the process further in examining whether those roles and those potential expressions of energy, the things that we project outwardly, are, you know, in alliance with what we want, with what we feel we want, and what we think about most of the time. So yeah, that would be perhaps the strongest, let's say, advice in going to that direction. Yeah.
And if an individual doesn't truly know what they want to desire and that feeling sets, would this process still be advisable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I completely overlooked that. I'm completely within my reality tunnel now. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, the main part of this transition through an invisible gateway is dealing with release, with trust, with letting go, and being okay in uncertainty, and being okay with not knowing, and just trusting the process, trusting that everything will unfold in its time. And of course, this is an invitation not only for individuals who have a faint indication of what it is that they're being called to, or what their highest excitement in life is, because it's entirely possible. And I've had several experiences when communicating with other individuals that they really wish, they desire to find out what it is that they're here to do. but haven't, using strategies that they are familiar with, haven't been able to do so. So, as Albert Einstein suggests, trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results will just not cut the cake, right?
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. And this is what I really love about the whole vibe and essence of the Coronation is it's alchemical laboratory of self, right? And
yeah.
it's like a distilled aspect and version of it. And then I can only imagine what will happen in a longer journey, a longer experience with a larger co-creative vision as well in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the long-term vision is for each and every individual to unfold or to wipe their windshields and see clearly, which is a part of the process itself. But yeah, calling forward a tribe of a fully realized, integrated individual, which incorporates all of the aspects that you essentially find or invite back to the table throughout the alchemical process, then informs that journey in such a way that you find it on the other side. You have a kingdom, so to speak, to be forged with other individuals who are on the same journey as you are. And yeah, the collective power of shared intentions and shared visions, which in any case will align if you undergo this process. Yeah, if you just imagine the power and potentiality behind that, then we can all let go of this, unrealized victim persona, victim archetype that we're playing in the wounded warrior, essentially. So
yes, rightfully so. I mean, it's imperative that we grow up from that story, and as you put it, psychologically mature ourselves into our truth, into our wholeness, and realize that. And when we come together in a circle or a space, that energy of creation is only amplified, right? So it's incredibly exciting times to be alive, that we can come together in this way, and there's like technology that allows us to do cool stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technology is one of the main pieces behind this, right? So this is, if we imagine the countercultural movements of the 60s, for example, and what profound shifts of, boundary disillusion some of the elements, some of the psychedelic substances like lysergic acid had in the United States, you could immediately observe by going through that historical period, this slice of time, that people tended to migrate out, to opt out, drop out, as Timothy Leary suggested, and started building different communities, different circles. But why I'm mentioning this is because, unlike in the 60s, today we actually have technologies which are the wizard archetype instruments that are either material or psychological. We emerged definitely from a wizard era. Yeah, this is the wizard archetype.
Yes.
Our collective monolithic culture, regardless of how many issues we see with it, it brings gifts, and one of those gifts is the medium of communication, and that is the wizard's tool, right? So, and when we're able to communicate end to end, that means that we are the ones who are building means. We're the ones who communicate meaning and value. And value is the second element of this technological revolution, this renaissance that we're living through, meaning that we can store and agree on what we hold valuable. And, by forming those trade hubs between kingdoms of individuals that have undertaken this noble art of bringing oneself to true self, that the sky is not the limit.
well put. And speaking to technology, and specifically decentralized technology and things like NFTs and tokens, on the landing page itself, we've indicated the prospective path moving forward, and I would love to hear more about how you see technology infusing into the container and creating value and new ways of connecting within the people
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's manifold. I mean, we're just at the edges of exploring this, and specifically myself, I've really jumped into wrapping my mind around the potential applications of NFT only recently. So I'm still, a novice in this respect from a technological standpoint, but my strong suit has always been this visionary sense, right? On how one can utilize technology to really implement all of the things that you envision and that you desire to move towards. And NFTs specifically holds, in my perspective, and as a part of, as you mentioned, the landing page and the mastermind that we're kicking off on the 2nd of February next year, is going to be already an NFT itself. So this is one of the game changers for education, for online education, so to speak. But I'm a little bit hesitant to call this, education, even though that it is really.
Right.
I prefer to call it a transformational experience. So if you can imagine having a tokenized transformational experience, which is the golden ticket towards the future magical society of individuals that have undergone this rite of passage and are there with their tribe essentially to co-create reality and weave potential timelines that they wish and they desire to. That is beyond reproach essentially in a decentralized economy. So yeah, that's one of the elements, that's one of the aspects. The other one is, we can essentially, having utilized NFTs, we can create constant growing value for the community itself. So imagine being first in a cooperative, collaborative environment where we use mathematical algorithms to decide on the future direction of this decentralized autonomous organization of individuals who will see their seeds sprout to trees and grow into mighty oaks, for a lack of better allegory or metaphor. But yeah, I'm as a parent, I'm in the visionary stage of this. So from a completely practical level, what we're envisioning for this is creating the mastermind as an NFT, meaning that once you pass through the entire process itself, through the journey of reclaiming one's power and stepping into self-sovereignty, you decide what you want to do with that. And that is your asset, because you are able to trade this experience with someone else if at any point in time you feel that you no longer vibe with the tribe, so to speak, which is a very powerful element, because in Web 2.0, centralized platforms are not allowing you to migrate and take all of the value that they've created in one specific environment forward, while this is not the case. So you're free to exchange your tokens and gift essentially the keys of this kingdom to someone else who is willing to participate. But there's a lot of value that I envision for this journey specifically that is going to just grow in, as time progresses. So yeah, I think I've encapsulated the essence of that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think that the last piece that you said was, really important as well, that as individuals embark on the journey, like the creation also informs itself. So clearly there's a vision of what this desires to be and what's possible, and by the underlying nature and design of a decentralized autonomous organization, there's an opportunity for the characters on the journey to also influence the pathway, which is like choose your own adventure in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an invitation to build a common realm. If you if anybody is a gamer, I was really fond of playing like Civilization or other strategic games. I was not too much of a Wolfenstein and all of that, even though that I went through all of this in terms of gaming, but I really found most pleasure and joy in building out different realities and different civilizations. So yeah, this is an alliance. It's a call for an alliance for all creative facets of individuals that have something to bring, and we all have something to bring to the table. So The most beautiful piece of the puzzle that I can see is co-creating with different parts of the puzzle, because we all have one. So
yeah, it's exciting when aligned people come together with an open mind in a collaborative space with a container that's supportive of transformation. Then so much is possible. So it's exciting. It's exciting, and I love how, right at the forefront, your intention is to experiment and to leverage emerging technology with ancient technology. And I'm feeling the potency of that, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a good heuristic here, which is, the tried and tested principles, ancient principles, which hold to be true, in combination with modern application and technological capacity, which is, it's again a merging factor of two apparently paradoxical, let's say, facets of life. Yeah.
Which kind of brings things full circle in a way to what you were speaking about earlier, the merging of the opposites into a third form that is arguably transcendent and more whole than the others, but new and fresh. And it's exciting times because we are at the leading edge of consciousness, of technology, and what is going to be birthed feels like it's so new, hasn't been done before, yet it feels like home and familiarity and like authentic connection as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it feels to me like a tree, an apple tree's essence in life is to grow apples. So how do we human?
Yes, indeed. How do we human? That is the question to be asked. And it's also complex in many ways because we have so many unique gifts and so many abilities. And I think a lot of the time people aren't able to see their own gifts or abilities or really value them as much. And I think a container like, the Coronation will grant that space for individuals to be seen and to be called forward, because it's calling forth that, misfit type of individual that doesn't necessarily synchronize with this broken society and is ready to build a new one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and that's been my life experience. I mean, it's taken me quite a significant amount of time to really first learn those lessons and then apply them and learn how to utilize those lessons in life, how to bring myself to wholeness, essentially. So, that is a completely different perspective, because at one point then you see that anything that you do in life, it's not a matter of a question of what you're doing, but how you're doing it. And if you bring that intention into everything that you do in life, then things have a certain sense of, spiraling up into a direction that you have authored yourself. And that is the whole point of this experience. Yeah, self-mastery, self-authority, self-sovereignty is essentially self-authorship. I like to use the analogy of writing a book, and specifically a grimoire as one of the elements. One of the things that really emerged from the 7-day challenge is having an intentional book, which is likened to a philosopher's stone. Not stoned, but stone. That informs, it informs your life. So you realize that you perhaps, if we dial it back into how we started this conversation about what are the recommendations of going into this, taking stock of all of the personas, all of the social roles that you play in life, is the transmutational point here is, how do you incorporate and how do you differentiate from the basic psychological energetics and frameworks that influence society at large, which we learn through observing symbolic mythological expressions or memes, which is how our subconscious communicates with us, because the language center is in our left hemisphere. So we're not able to really put this into words unless we've gone a long, significant journey in trying to express ourselves through using abstract symbology. But yeah, what I'm suggesting here is that when you invite all of those elements of self back to the table and hold them in loving awareness, it's when the magic starts to happen. And writing your own grimoire, it's a magical transformational journey when you certainly at one point waken up, you awaken into your wizard archetype and realize that you're the one who's been holding that pen all along.
Yeah, well put, and so important to recognize that we are the authors of our life and that authorship is our authority. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be the one that's kind of directing the course of the narrative, as opposed to some questionable, sketchy influences that are out there that seem to be, influencing the course of the collective stream, right? So I'd be curious as to, what's your take on that, and why it's, and if you feel it's really imperative that now more so than ever, we really take command of the wheel and direct the course.
Yeah, that's a very powerful question, and there's no one easy answer to it. But just to share my metaphysics and my sense in putting this into a constellation is that we're always safe, we're always fine, we're always exactly as we need to be, and even though that apparently we are being called to something, it's like a mirror is being raised in front of the collective unconscious to reflect back to us what it is that we really do not desire, so that we have motivation to go into a direction of our desires. So it's a mixed bag. It's a double-edged sword. It's like everything in life. It's a dualistic expression of everything that is in existence. So I trust that it's always exactly as it needs to be. Yeah, that's the preface. Yeah. And going more into it and speaking directly into how I observe the institutions and the collective political, economic powerhouses that apparently have been, present for a very, very long time. If we only know where to look for historic data and data points to connect those dots, we see that a possibility for one to control as a monopoly the collective narrative, that is where the power of creating realities really lies. So I would liken this experience as a birth and an empowerment into this archetype, which is really the archetype that is being used to construct the realities that we have so far collectively. So there is essentially no judgment for the entire political landscape is what I'm suggesting here. And yeah, at the long run, I see, if we know that there is nothing to do, no one to be, nowhere to go, if we find peace in our core, in ourselves, in our true essence, then we know that it's always exactly as it needs to be. So just going from that center forward means that it informs your life in such a way that you can actually find joy and live the life of co-creation, birthing that apple tree or whatever humans, how do we human? Again, going back to that question. But yeah, I mean, it's been a very, very dark period of time. I have a feeling that if we try to observe and recollect all of the collective decisions of the establishments, so to speak, that we give power to, either consensually or unconsensually, by not, sticking in our core center, but just, letting that essentially decide our decision-making process. I would have to say that it feels as if, and that is also a part of the transformational container, the nigredo, the darkening. It's a phase, one of the 4 stages of the human psyche, that is informed by the warrior archetype. Yeah, and this is in terms of alchemical elementals, it's fire. So if you imagine a fire and a warrior without proper guidance from the heart, it can manifest as either a victim or as a perpetrator, which is essentially a mercenary, right? And I perceive this expression of our collective monocultural direction as a sort of a mercenary expression of the collective archetype. And we can learn much from it because, we're bringing back the rainbow warrior, which is the warrior that has gone through all of the 4 stages and really went through the initiation. Yeah, so the warrior archetype has allies to cooperate with, which are also the lover, the wizard, and the king, essentially. Yeah, all informed by a very specific stage of this evolutionary process. So yeah, why I'm bringing this up is because I see as a a hermetic or alchemical or a magic maxim, as above, so below. I see that the processes which are underwent in our psychological journey are then expressed also on larger cycles. So from the collective side. Yeah, so I see us at the precipice of unfolding into a more complete archetypical expression on the collective level as well. So yeah, I'm psyched to start using all of those tools and learning points. If we say, for example, that this was the dark night of the soul of humanity, going through Second World War, all of the unimaginable grotesque expressions of what we can actually do as human beings to other sentient beings, then this is a part of the growing up stage. So if we are informed by that, and if we hold it in loving awareness rather than judgment, that really allows us to accept a part of ourselves, which is also this raging warrior without direction, right? But the warrior needs a king to follow.
Yeah.
And that is not an external authority. That is ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. No, so beautifully put. And I'll add one more piece to it, like in the whole dynamic of the aspects within the kingdom. The warrior's role, I believe, is also to fulfill and to sustain the boundaries that the sovereign or the king sets out, right? And I think in this modern world, many people don't really know how to set boundaries, how to contain their energy within the boundaries. And any alchemical process requires that boundaries to be taken care of. So yeah, perhaps you want to speak to that a little bit too.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the whole process itself is a boundary, right? So we're intentionally setting up a temple, a container, if you will, or a vessel, in which you, by raising your energetics, by looking at your shadow aspects, the aspects of self that we don't really feel proud of and that have significant anchor points of anxiety or of fear, of belief systems which are rooted in this emotional expressions. If we intentionally direct that energy and utilize the warrior archetype in its concise, direct point, in this action-oriented element of us, then this is we're essentially using the energy that has been holding us down towards something different, because we put our intentions in it, and we set boundaries by creating an intention for ourselves of what we wish to achieve throughout this ritual process. And the ritual process is a liminal space that is set out in terms of containing one's center, one's soul, and informing it with the energetics, with the content, which is you undergoing this, and the framework, which is the coronation journey. So
nice. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating the depth of transformation that can happen in a short period of time, right? and we've both been there and seen the results of that, and also feeling into what a longer term journey could look and feel like. I'm curious, like what could be some of the results or after states for individuals whom are willing to commit to the process in whole and really step into these archetypes and cultivate their magic and play full out.
Yeah, that's a very good pragmatic question. So I mean, the entire process is geared towards one stepping into authenticity and self-sovereignty, which is essentially the desired result for this journey. And one of the pragmatic expectations, let's say, but I don't like using the term expectation because it suggests essentially sort of a clinging or an attachment to a desired goal. I prefer to keep it with intentions, and just trusting that whatever needs to come will come at its own pace, and that can range for individuals, based on their current states in which they find themselves in, because this is an ongoing process. It's the Ouroboros snake eating its own tail, meaning that if you have a very thick onion, you can expect to peel off some of the layers, if not all of the layers, immediately. But in my experience, just taking the first step is what really brings you forward into unlocking a whole plethora of different elements that perhaps have been lying dormantly in your subconscious. So yeah, results can vary, I would say. But if there's anything that I see as being or having in common as a direct result, is this clarity of what it is that you really want to do in life and that you feel that you want to do in life, rather than fulfilling someone else's dream, whether that be in a 9-to-5 setup or doing things that you really do not like. This frees up all of that baggage. Essentially, you can leave the baggage at the door once you realize that is not necessarily yours to carry, even though that the carrying of that luggage is essentially what gave you the strength that you can utilize that strength towards a desired goal. But yeah, I mean, I would say that it's like peeling off the illusion of our collective expectations and then just coming into center with self and doing whatever floats your boat, man.
And then that is, I mean, for me, that's the ultimate, if there was a goal, the ultimate goal or the ultimate place to be is at home within self, in the center, and self-aware and, awake within the dream, so to speak, and enjoying the dream with others who are on the same path, and creating something tangible and tactile to shift and change and inspire the world. And I feel that there truly is a renaissance, an alchemical renaissance of consciousness that's transpiring right now, and super cool to
absolutely
be at the forefront of it.
Yeah, this is exciting, man. I mean, I really feel so excited about this whole field and the collective state, even though that it's currently at the edges in my, let's say, assessment. I feel that being at the peak of that wave, it's what gives you energy, what propels you forward if you're surfing that wave. So that's this flow state, this optimized state where everything is done in a profoundly different way. Even though that you're doing essentially things like you were doing before, but now you're doing it consciously and enjoying the process. So
which is arguably the one of the purposes to life, right? Just like enjoying being human and feeling all of it.
Whatever that means for you, right?
Yeah.
Because we're here for the experience. I mean, I haven't found anything else but the experience. So I think it's impossible to point to anything else but the experience itself. So yeah, why not create or architect an experience that you actually truly feel that you want to experience in life, And having said that, of course, it's perfectly fine if an individual is currently in a state where they feel that there's still something holding them to or anchoring them to a certain experience in life, I just want to acknowledge that that is also perfectly fine,
Yes.
whatever that is. Yeah. So there's no pressure. I mean, that's the whole point of it. It's like Sisyphus is rolling this boulder up the hill, and then he realizes that he doesn't really have a good reason for doing so. He drops the boulder and just sits atop the mountain, looks around from a beautiful vantage point, and just starts breathing, and then starts reflecting and contemplating on what it is exactly that he's doing. And even if he realizes after a significant amount of time that sitting atop a mountain is just another experience in itself, perhaps he finds that something else floats his boat, even if that be going back to the boulder and rolling that boulder up the hill and down the hill.
I love that allegory. And yeah, it's, you know, I want to speak to you and your transition in your life, and the point of reflection that you've been at within yourself, and and how your assessment of your paradigm has shifted based on what you've journeyed on thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete overhaul of everything that I essentially held to be true in my life. And it's just such a profound shift in consciousness, where I no longer feel that I need to carry anything that doesn't feel good. And it's just coming from that inner child of pursuing one's dream and imagination. I really zoomed into my previous childhood experiences and just remembered what are the things that I really enjoyed doing at that point in time, which had no specific direction or meaning. It was just a pursuit of imagination, and that in itself was everything that I wanted. Yeah, so that's a very abstract and kind of imaginary anchor that I want to put forward. But on a more pragmatic level, since we started architecting this journey, I've gone through a profound shift in terms of relating to myself, to my self-worth, and feeling safe and centered in my being, where I do not need to look for truth or authority outside of myself. And that resulted in a significant amount of shedding of things which are no longer of service in my life. One of them being still in a contractual relationship with an organization which served its purpose. So I'm really grateful and appreciative for having that opportunity, because it allowed me to slowly build a bridge to across the river, across the whitening process of albedo, the purification by water, and then landing on the other side of the bank, which is it's just such a profound different vantage point to observe. So it also commemorates my resignation from this organization and my full and unbridled focus and attention, like a very pinpoint direction to pursuing this highest excitement. And this highest excitement is essentially the alchemical transformation and transmutation. The coronation journey itself is the process, and that is what fills my heart, to be able to offer that experience and that service to other individuals who feel called to just take the challenge and go forward, because we all know inherently that there's something better to be done, rather than pursuing a meaningless 9 to 5, or whatever form of, let's say, source of income one is currently.
I thought you were gonna say torture instead of source of income.
Yeah, I'm being very kind, but no, but essentially, I mean, I found that because I've had my cyclical ups and downs throughout my journey, where I was already kind of living behind all of this corporate culture and working for a larger team of individuals with venture capital ownership or institutional ownership, which is all about creating shareholder value. But I cannot really say anything about this experience in such a judgmental way, because this has given me the exact tools that I need to architect a different narrative, a narrative that I actually enjoy. So that's one of the most profound shifts that I would put forward as a potential result of if anybody undergoing this great work, and it is a great work, it's actual work, and it's the hardest work that one can do, and the only work that we can really do, working on ourselves. And it's such a beautiful process to witness oneself undergo, and to feel the power and the centeredness and unwavering direction that emerges inherently out of this union of opposites, and this calling back home all of the missing elements of ourselves, the archetypes that were dwelling in the shadow lands for such a long time.
Well, thank you for sticking your head out of the shadowlands, and freeing yourself, and for being willing to take others along on the journey with you. And we've worked together quite intimately, and I've seen your process and how you weave all the aspects together. And I really respect your detail and intention, and just the creative way in which all of this information and resources and tools and technologies are being alchemized themselves into a container of transformation. And I'm super excited for anyone that is lucky enough and willing enough, after reading the warning label, to jump in.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, this really reminds me of one other thing, which is also, we perhaps might be feeling like we're alone in our own process and in our own journey, not really being able to relate what is happening within, because most frequently so it happens that rarely you meet individuals who are really, who really strive to work on themselves in such a profound way. So this is just one of the results of the process, is that you can learn to cooperate with other pieces of self, which is essentially other individuals on the journey. And if you imagine building essentially a forum, a sort of a platform for trading, because we all bring our own unique pieces to the table, that co-creation can result in different things that we've already, if we only take a look at all of the accomplishments of civilizations before us, such as the Great Pyramids and other monolithic structures, and art and music and beauty, that's the result of human labor. That is in my mind how we human, right? That those are the apples of that apple tree.
Wow. Epic. I'm just feeling like the innate transmission that's within you, and also feeling all of the possibilities that are just floating around the field right now, and also the clear next step, for any individual that's watching this recording as well. I'm sure in some way, shape, or form there's resonance here. So what would you invite this individual to do or to contemplate as a next step?
Yeah, I missed you there for a second. I think it was a connection. If you could just repeat your last statement. Yeah.
Sure. So for any individual that is resonating with what's being shared here, and is interested in embarking on this path, what would you say is the next action step or steps that they could take to to jump in here?
Yeah, so one of the invitations is for the next 7-day challenge, the Coronation challenge, which is again a distillation of all of this in a very, very tight and intentional framework, vessel, a container, which is like an espresso, like a soul espresso, as we called it. And that is going to be happening on the 14th of January, 2022. So that is one way. The invitation is for anybody who finds this transmission resonant. It's a free challenge. It's a free container, a free experience. But as we kind of put the warning out there already, it can be a significant amount, let's say, amount of information, a significant amount of energy to absorb. And yeah, that is a part of the second step, which is essentially the 8-week mastermind, which is a dive deep and really grounding and settling into this. Throughout those 8 weeks, we will be taking you on the journey throughout this whole alchemical process in a very solid, structured, but also flowing way. For all of the emergent elements that come up, so that we can transmute that and just go forward in a collective way with all of the fellowship who will be also participating on that journey. And yeah, it's as I said, this is going to be taking place on the 2nd of February of 2022. And yeah, furthermore, even if we don't find this opportunity for us to be resonant in this shape and form, I would also strongly advise anybody who finds these topics and that type of work resonant to participate in any other container or any other transformational experience that might come up on their field of awareness at that point in time. Yeah. So yeah, that's
Thank
what's
you.
next.
Yeah, no, and I can definitely attest to the significance of stepping into an aligned container, whatever that is. When it's the full body, fuck yes, because it gives us that spaciousness and that direction to really commit to our transformation and be devoted to it. So thank you for offering it. And yeah, I love it's such an early stage, so to speak, in the bringing forth of this whole experience, but there's already so much potency here, and you can only imagine over the weeks and months and years ahead the evolution that's going to transpire and the ripples of change that'll be enacted throughout like all of the spheres.
Yeah, I'm also very excited to see what comes up. It's it's just one day at a time, but I'm feeling that energy and that potentiality take place. If you